I had pressed live too soon.
So we are streaming now. Welcome to Create Income with or Without a Job. I'm Jamila Harris, your Create Income coach. And today we have an extraordinary interview ready for you. Those of you who have been following our videos on YouTube, Create Income Coach, those of you who are part of our Create Income family and who are using Create Income with or without a job to guide you step by step through creating income, whether you have a job or not. You will be thrilled to get the information to hear from our guests today. An extraordinary entrepreneur, Jessica Lewis, joins us. She is the CEO of Real Solutions for Real People. And I will give you her website address as we begin the program, and we'll share that several times during our interview so that you'll be able to contact her through her website and email address. Her website address is rs4rp.com. That's R as in Robert, S as in Sam, the number 4, R as in Robert, P as in Paul.com. So feel free to log on while you listen to the nuggets and wisdom for how to start businesses. This interview is going to feature business startup advice. So Jessica Lewis, we welcome you to Create Income with or Without a Job.
Thank you. I'm very appreciative to be here this morning. Thank you for having me.
You know, when you shared your background with me, it was just what was so astonishing is some people are true entrepreneurs. And the entrepreneurial spirit is that we can definitely do more than one thing at a time.
For
And you
sure.
happen to be an entrepreneur that is a role model in terms of how to do multiple types of enterprises and keep multiple enterprises going at the same time. But I want you to start with your pre-entrepreneurial background and explain how you went from employee to entrepreneur.
Absolutely. Well, for starters, I was in human services for over 15 years, and something in me while working with the public, so any aspect of human services I did. So anywhere from being a corrections officer to a therapist to a director of programs, I've done it. And so during that time, there was something in me that kept saying, Jessica, you need to have your own business. You know how you may work for somebody and you feel like you can do it better than them? That's kind of always been my mindset, so to speak. And so when I had the opportunity to start my first business, I was 19 years old. I was 2 years into college, and I gave somebody a gift and they said, Jessica, oh my gosh, this gift basket is so beautiful. You should go into business for yourself. So inside me, I already had that feeling like I was an entrepreneur, but I guess for me, I was scared to start, nevertheless, didn't know where to start. So when I let my auntie hype me up, I said, okay, Jessica, this is your chance. It's showtime. And so she told me that I should go into doing gift baskets. So my very first business, 19 years old, still in college, was Wicked Wicker Gift Baskets. And so I did gift baskets for corporate companies that would give the gifts to their clients to kind of smooze them, to get them to do business with them. And so that was my specialty. And then it went into everything else. So whether it was a baby shower or a special holiday, a little bit of everything. I was doing gifts for everybody. And so after a while, my ADD kicked in. I got a little bored with it. And so I said, you know what? Let's get over the gift basket thing. So I had stopped that. And so I ended up working for that 15-year period. And that's when I realized that working was not for me. And so I went from being a worker with a W-2 to being a 1099, thinking, Jessica, you're slowly easing your way into business, right? And so 1099s they're independent contractors. And so I did a lot of independent contract work, anywhere from insurance to other kind of sales positions. And so eventually because my family did instill in me that you always should have a job and your business is your backup, not your primary. At some point in time, which was 2 years ago for me, I had this revelation where I said, Jessica, you've been playing with this business thing, part time for a very long time. It's time for you to take a leap of faith. And what I will say is that was the best decision that I personally ever made. Having worked for someone else primarily for over 18 years, at some point in time, it said, this is time for you to do it for yourself. Again, I was trying to break a generational curse because my family always bought real estate. We always were developers. We did all kinds of stuff, but we always kept our jobs. We never let go of the 9 to 5. And so 2 years ago, I happily quit my job. I went on a 2-week vacation to Dubai and the Maldives. And I came back and I gave my 3 weeks notice because I did want to not burn my bridge. And so I did what I have to do to prepare whoever was coming in after me. I made sure my territory was straight. I made sure they had everything that they needed. And I was off to the races. And if I never made that decision, I honestly would not have been where I am today, being a very successful multipreneur, having multiple businesses, being able to thrive and grow in my purpose. And for me, my purpose was to be in business, but also help others do the same thing.
So, two things that I heard, and many of us have similar, basically psychological implants that come from family lore, family mores, family stories, oral history, that you were left with that thought that, yeah, business is great, but you just better have that job. That's the anchor.
That's right.
And the other thing I want to ask you to also just give us some more insight, detailed insight into, is how you actually moved from paycheck and even 1099 contract to solo, to an entrepreneur, because people don't often make the connection. People want to know how to do that. Some of us in today's time have to do it by necessity because we've already lost our job. But for someone who still has a job, what were those steps in moving from having a definite income to, depending on your entrepreneurial income?
A few things. So for starters, when you're working a wage job, you are on the clock all day. They pay you a certain amount, and sometimes you may even be salaried, meaning they can have you pushing overtime and you're not getting paid extra for it, right? And so again, in your mind, you have to understand, is this what you really want? And so it starts in the mind with the mindset, and then you can start making the movement. So when I was a W-2 employee, I had jobs where overtime was there. I mean, I can make extra with overtime. And then I moved to positions that were salaried, where I never would get overtime. Salary mean you work all day, every day. You don't get paid any extra. So I started from there. Then I moved to the jobs that allow for me to have overtime. And then I moved into independent contracting. And so what that looks like is you go from still working for somebody else, but on your own time. And so some industries may not allow for that. So if you're in that type of industry, I can't be very specific on the types that may not allow it, but most industries do have those opportunities where you can be an independent contractor for a company and not do the wage side of it, where they don't take out taxes. So keep that in mind. 1099, that's the beginning of you being an entrepreneur. So you have to file your own taxes. You do have to keep up with all those expenses. And so I would suggest that someone goes from figuring out if your industry allows for that. There are human service jobs that do that. So I was a TSS worker, where I worked one-to-one with children who had mental and developmental delay issues. I also was a therapist, where I made my own hours as a counselor. So there were so many types of jobs in my industry that I could move from, that allowed for me that flexibility of being able to make my own hours and also being able to make as much money as I wanted. And so when I transitioned from an independent contractor to a full-time entrepreneur, that was a whole different game, because the year before I left, I gave myself a year goal. And so within that year, I started transferring my energy from being a full-time employee to a part actually full-time entrepreneur. So the first 6 months I replaced my income that I was making at my job. And then my second 6 months, I made it my business to continually maintain that income. And so why that's so important is because everybody think they can be an entrepreneur. You can be, but you do have to plan it out a little bit. I also made sure that I didn't take a day off that entire year. I also made sure that I upped my 401k because at the time my job was giving me 6% match. And so I took out $400 every single check, and not everybody can afford to do that, but I did that, $400 per check. So when I left, I had almost 40,000 in my 401k because I had already been doing my contributions prior to my year. I just upped it from 200 to 400 in my last year. And then with the 6% contribution, that made a really big difference. And long story short, when you become an entrepreneur, the transition is going to be from your mindset to the actual actions. And so I was more of my own business my last year of working at my job, meaning I was doing bare minimal just so I couldn't get fired. I'm just being honest, guys, just so I didn't get fired. But I put more energy in my business because that's the shift that you have to make. If you don't make that shift, unfortunately, you'll never make it to that point.
Excellent. That's an excellent how-to, a picture, a visual of the actual steps you have just mentioned. There's one other caveat that I think many who are considering entrepreneurship and leaving an actual job often allow to hold them back. And that's the whole benefits,
Mm,
health
mhm,
insurance, the benefits package.
mhm.
And so speak to your decision about that as a 1099, independent contractor.
Absolutely. And so, unfortunately, those are some of the sacrifices you have to make. So, for one, I'm a big herbalist. So, I rarely go to the doctors. I really have to take medicine for anything. I don't even take it for headaches, cramps, anything. And so, here's what I challenge people to think about: is those benefits worth the life that you're missing, the purpose that you're missing? Because that is a hook that people constantly focus on, is the benefit side of it. There is insurance out there that you can have as a small business owner. Even with healthcare.gov, a lot of people dismiss the that particular aspect of it, but they even have subsidies for us. So let's just say your first year you may not make millions of dollars like you expected, but even with healthcare.gov, you can get insurance through them that meets your budget. So as much as you may be paying now, it may not be that cheap, so to speak, but you can get vision, dental, and full medical with emergency specialists, all that stuff. That's just something that you have to learn to do on your own. And so part of transitioning out is the knowledge base that you're going to have to focus on. You have to, without a doubt, learn more about the entrepreneurial world. So this is not something that I'm telling people, even if it has to take you 2 years to transition out of your job, you do need to know a little bit more about what it means to be independent of an employer in order for you to become an employer.
That's really key. What I don't want this to get lost on the listening audience, because I 100% agree with you. We are very focused on systematic healthcare and health insurance
Mhm.
because we are not focused on wellness.
Right.
And
That's
it is so much better to be healthy and well
mhm.
than to literally need health insurance
That's right.
or prescriptions and so forth. And of course, we're not trying to say anything to harm anyone. Medical conditions come up, things are unexpectedly happen in our lives. But I think you and I both know, and if our viewers see any of our other interviews here, we have an interview with Dr. Hillary Woodson, and the key is that we actually have more control over our health condition by the choices that we make,
Mhm.
how we manage stress,
Yes.
what we eat, what we drink. These are things we actually have control over.
Mhm.
our sleep patterns, how much sleep we get in a day, how much we hydrate.
Mhm.
These really are the bottom line to creating a state of wholeness and health, which the bottom line, it means that you're not as dependent upon having health insurance beyond some catastrophic event. And the other wonderful bit of knowledge, Jessica, that I learned as a newer entrepreneur once I could afford health insurance, because when I first started out as an entrepreneur, I wasn't generating enough money from my business to afford my own health insurance. But eventually, when I did, I learned that the tax code, you really should always know what the tax code allows, because the US tax code actually made my premiums that I paid as an entrepreneur for my health insurance, made them tax deductible. They were
Absolutely.
100% tax deductible as a small business owner. So it also helped me to preserve the income, even though I was paying it on a cash flow basis, it
Mhm.
was 100% tax deductible. So
Right.
we, just as you just said, we are all capable of creating our own benefit package.
And that's what's special about being an entrepreneur. So I'll talk a little bit about the benefits and also tie in the retirement side of it, if I may. So when I left my job, a lot of entrepreneurs don't know about what they call as a solo 401k. And so that all that money that I was saving, because I knew this was my exit plan, that was the last job I planned on having. And so for me, what people don't know is when they tell you that you have this 401k that you can never touch, right? That's because you don't know any better. But as entrepreneurs, they have something called a solo 401k, and you actually can go to solo401k.com and get more information about it. I actually rolled over my employer one into my own employer 401k. And so now I still have retirement, because as an entrepreneur, they say you technically aren't given into Social Security, but you can create your own retirement plan. And that's how you do it, with rolling over your employer one, the one you had with your job, into one that's for your own business. So keep that in mind, guys. There's ways to get around the benefit thing. I know it may not make sense right now, but as you're doing more research, because this is the key of all of this, being an entrepreneur is one part is act, one part is knowing, so you have to know some things in order for you to act. And so that retirement plan, all I did was rolled it over into my own employer led. So it was my own business led retirement plan. And I was so excited. I had access to all my money. They told us you can never touch it before. So it depends on the type of product, but when you roll it over into the solo 401k, you actually have access to it. You can use it for retirement. You can use it for cryptocurrency, buying that. You can buy real estate with it. All of that, all tax deductible, because the way the solo 401k is set up is actually set up like a trust where you have full access to it. What they call is checkbook writing capabilities, meaning you can access it and touch it and feel it and do what you want with it, as long as you put it back, and or as long as you are using it towards specific things like investments, you actually can take access over all your monies you've been saving. So that's another myth I just wanted to throw out there, outside of the health benefit part, that people just aren't very understanding or know about.
That is incredible information. And again, it's not mainstream information that you're sharing. And these are the things that make the difference in the success of especially newer business owners, people who are starting up businesses, because these are some of the main areas of concern.
Right.
I just cannot resist asking one follow-up question, since we're talking about 401ks
Yes.
in the current economic crisis. And whenever there is a recession, 401ks, and to be clear, they're called savings and retirement accounts, but they're actually investments in the stock market.
Yes.
So when the stock market takes dips and dives, that affects that 401, the value of that 401k, right?
Yes, but let me say this. When you have your own, you do what you want with your money. See, when you're at your job, they do what they want with your money. But when you're an employer-led one, you put it is a true savings trust account, meaning it's not affected by the market. Whatever is in there, it will stay there. And as you're growing it, meaning adding to it, it will never change, only if you personally take the money out. So that's another key benefit of having a solo 401k versus a traditional one that you have at your job. You actually have full control over its movement, its increasing or decreasing, and that's what I love about it. I was so excited. I didn't lose a dime during this COVID situation, but a lot of people had because of the financial markets. Most 401ks are tied to the markets, where a solo 401k is you having your own trust for your business where you're adding to it. You can anything monetarily you can add to it, and it only is affected if you touch it.
We are speaking with Jessica Lewis, CEO of Real Solutions for Real People. And you may reach her through her website, rs4rp.com. That's R as in Robert, S as in Sam, the number 4, R as in Robert, P as in purple.com. You may certainly contact her through her website. Jessica also has an email address at that website, accounts, ACCOUNTS, at rs4rp.com. And just the detail of information, the unique quality of the information you are sharing for new business owners, for startup business owners, things that may be news to existing business owners, is really valuable. So Jessica, this is what your company does, one of your companies does. So we started the introduction. You gave me some background about how you moved from employee to entrepreneur. Talk to us now about the various divisions of your company and what you do.
Absolutely. Well, for starters, Real Solutions for Real People, I'm a business consultant. So my primary job is to help entrepreneurs get their ideas out their head onto to paper through business plans. And then once you get it onto paper, I help with the execution part of it, which is operation and process management. So rather that's helping you with policy and procedure manuals, coming up with your operational structure, your organizational charts, whatever you think you may need. And then eventually you may need funding. And so I do have a financial arm. I'm an alternative lender. So typically when people come to me, it's because they've been denied by big banks. And so whatever that reason is that they got denied for, most likely I may be able to get them approved for those same exact reasons. And then lastly, we have a construction company. You know, we build residential and commercial structures out of shipping containers. So when you want to truly own your business, you could then go into real estate where you actually build your dream commercial space. And even if it's something that's attached to your residential space, something that allows for you to have true ownership over. So we're actually in the process of building our dream office space. And we're very excited by that. We decided to do those three together because they kind of fit. I'm an entrepreneur that works smarter, not harder. So I try to do things that kind of overlap. So I'm not doing double or triple work. And so the consulting piece almost usually goes hand in hand with the financials. And then typically the thing they want next is an office. And so we most likely can build them one. And sometimes the amount of money that a person may lease a space for, if you look at the time period that they could be leasing it for, they could have built something from the ground up. And so we're very big on ownership. And so that's kind of why we do the real estate development piece.
Excellent. And that leads me into that question about, how you advise new business owners about how to form their businesses. There are, according to the Internal Revenue Code and the tax code, there are different ways that one can be in business. And each different way has a different tax view. And so if you talk to us about some of the things that you advise new startup business owners about how to form their business.
Excellent. Great question. So I won't talk about this and get on a soapbox, but what I will say is this, guys, my company, we specialize in asset protection. So we're talking about asset protection from the time you register your business. So I'm going to talk about two things very quickly so that you guys can kind of get this inside your head. For one, when you start your business, I know we all love ourselves. We're so proud to be entrepreneurs, but the worst thing you can do is have your name in your business name. Okay. One reason, mainly, when we talk about asset protection, is that now people know who you are and they know that the business belongs to you. So if they want to sue you, the first thing they're going to do is look up Jessica Lewis, LLC, and now they know exactly how to find you and where to find you. So that leads to why we specialize in asset protection. So specifically, asset protection is in the form of anonymous LLCs or anonymous corporations through registered agents. So I'll break that down. So anonymous LLCs and anonymous corporations are business organizations that's designed to help protect your identity. So what that means is when you choose a name, when you register through anonymous LLC or a corporation, one, it will never have your name in it, but more importantly, it will never have your information within the registration of the business. So what that looks like is when you usually file for your Secretary of State filings, most of the time you're using your home address. So now if somebody wants to sue you, they know where you live, they know how to find you, right? And then most of the times people are using their name. So they now know that you belong to this company and that is your address. Where registered agents come in, registered agents are someone who acts on the behalf of your company. They're the person that's on the forefront. So typically a registered agent will have their name on your Secretary of State filing and their address on the Secretary of State filing. And so what that means is if someone, was to look up your business, they will see that person's information and not yours. And they'll say something like, hey, I thought Jessica Lewis owned this business. Yes, you do own the business, but on the paperwork, it will never have your name. So anonymous LLCs and corporations are designed for you to protect your identity from people that may be just too happy. Random people can sue you. You may never even done business with them, but they can look your name up, and if they want to victimize you that day, you're going to be that target. And so anonymous LLCs actually allow for you to keep your anonymity, meaning your information, your name, your address, nothing is on the paperwork at the Secretary of State. And so that's very, very important. And I'm not going to say that one type of or business structure is better than the other, but typically I advise my new business owners to start with a corporation, because if you are really in entrepreneurism for the long term, please understand that you're going to expand your business. And so having one business set up as your corporation and then having subsidiaries set up as anonymous LLCs under that corporation allow for you to grow. So let's just say your one company is the mother company, and then you have all your other businesses because you have lots of ideas. You're going to do a lot of things in your life. You're going to be great. You're going to be living in abundance. And so you'll have all these subsidiaries under your mother company. Your mother company is what they call the holding corporation. So what that means is as you're making money in all your subsidiaries, all your other businesses, your money funnels back up to your holding corporation, where if someone tries to sue you in any one of your anonymous LLCs, there will be nothing for them to sue you for because you sent all the money back up to the mother company, which again, they don't know you own that either. And so what I suggest is, and this may be a little too deep for you guys, but I'll break it down very briefly for the next 30 seconds. You have your holding company, which is your main company at large, and then you have your other companies under separate companies. So let's just say you're in real estate, you're into cars, you're doing hair, you're doing shoes, whatever. 4 different companies will be under the mother company, all as separate individual companies. So if someone sues you, the other 3 in your mother company is not affected. So it's literally you keeping everything separate so that you can continue moving forward, even if a hiccup occurs. Even if you have to file for bankruptcy, only that one company would file for bankruptcy and the others would not be affected by it. So that's the best suggestion I have. And if that's too far over your head and that's too much, you say, I don't want to do all of that, just make sure you do anonymous LLC. The best states are Wyoming and Delaware and Nevada. and I believe New Mexico as well. That's the fourth one. I primarily do mines in Wyoming and Delaware. It's usually about $200, a little under $200, and that includes a registered agent. So remember, you want to keep your business and your identity protected. So make sure it's an anonymous LLC if all you're going to do is an LLC, and make sure that the companies that you're using are in Wyoming and Delaware because they have the best protections for anonymous LLCs.
Which explains why all the major corporations like Coca-Cola,
Mhm.
et cetera, have their corporate registration in Delaware.
Mhm.
Yes,
Plenty
this
of
is
business protections.
this is excellent information. So we're talking with Jessica Lewis, just so that you know how to reach out to her. Her website is rs4rp.com. R for Robert, S for Sam, the number 4, R for Robert, P is in purple.com. You can contact her through her website or the email address at that same website, accounts at rs4rp.com. Jessica, so the other ways of this is just extraordinary to get this type of information. This type of information is rarely available in the mainstream, and particularly to new upstart, upcoming business owners. So this is so great that you are sharing and what you and your company share with business owners to give them the advantage once they become entrepreneurs. So let's talk a little bit about the actual, ABCs. The ABCs. We understand how to formulate our business. We understand asset protection, the step 1 of asset protection. And so let's talk about the ABCs of business, because what I found is people will come to me with a business idea. It's normally something birthed out of something inside of them, a natural talent, gift, or ability that they have, much like your gift basket business was. It was something that you had a gift for. You had a talent for that. And you turned it into something revenue generating. So when people come to me with a business idea, they will often have it all in their head. The vision that they have sometimes doesn't translate into something that will actually create a revenue generating enterprise. So what are some of those ABCs that you talk to startup business owners about?
I think the very first thing I talk to people about is how do you make money from it? And let's be real, we all go into business, one, because of our passions, two, mainly because of money. And so let's be realistic in our conversations when we say we want to start a business. Can you make money from it? Because that's the sustainability piece of it. And we do have, and so let me also say too that oftentimes we feel like our ideas are so original to us that no one out there could have possibly started this kind of business. I'm the first one of my kind. And typically that's not the case. There's not very many, original ideas that are out there. And so knowing that, you should know whether or not you can actually make money from it. And so I always tell people with your ideas, ask yourself how much money, if you could quit your job, how much money would you make from this particular business idea? And then I will also ask them, could you do this until you die? If this was your passion, your purpose, your vision for your life, could you do this up until you die? Because some people are acting from a place of desperation, mainly because they may have lost their job, they may not be in business and not making much money. They're like, man, if I just had more money, what would you do? That's my second question to them. If you had more money, how would you spend that money within your business? So one, can you make money from it? And two, once you do make the money, what are you going to do with it? Because one part of it is self-preservation. A lot of small business owners don't pay themselves. I'm not really sure what that's about, but you're supposed to always pay yourself first, and some people just genuinely take their money and they put the money back in there, reinvest back into their business. Where how are you sustaining personally? Because now it's like you went from being working for somebody else to working for yourself, but still working like you're working for somebody else because you're not even paying yourself your worth. So I would say one, make sure you can make money, and two, make ask yourself how you want to spend the money. And then three, ask yourself how can you grow from it. And so with the last example of how you would set up your corporation, that's why it was so important to understand if you're not in this for the long haul, then you probably would only apply for one LLC. You know, you would start out with the LLC versus the other way where I described you have a parent company and then you start your other businesses as you move along. Because a true entrepreneur, which I'm a multipreneur, I actually have 8 businesses, literally. 3 is what I described, and 4 is what I'm in the process of opening. And so, when you're in this, and this is your love, this is your passion, you know that you're an entrepreneur, you will not settle for just one business. You know, you typically are going to expand your thoughts, take your business to another level where it may kind of go off on a tangent where you have to start another business. And so, I would ask yourself, how are you going to grow in that business? You know, and that all comes from having a business plan. So some people are in business and don't have business plans, but every person I talk to, whether it's through SCORE, because I'm a SCORE mentor, I'm one of the vice chairs for the local chapter. I actually start everybody, if they say they want to start a business, if they're not willing to write a business plan, I know they're not serious about starting a business, because you have to have a plan or you plan to fail. There are some people out there who did well not having a business plan, but guess what? They even were smart enough at some point in time to make a business plan. They had to have marketing plans and they had to have strategies and all of that. And so, if that makes sense of what I just said, is knowing how do you make money from your business, how you're going to spend your money, and how you're going to grow your money. Because you can make it, you can even have it, but can you make it grow so you can be sustainable?
And that is such a key point as well. I find over the years that particularly women and minorities who start businesses are often, even from SBA and SCORE and traditional financial institutions and lenders, often schooled on debt financing and building their businesses. The idea of growth is growing through debt financing.
Mhm.
And one of the things that I am very keen on when talking with and helping business owners is helping them to expand their understanding of equity financing,
Mhm.
and you know, with investors or yourself and others, but you're building equity in your business. And then what you're building is something, as you said, for the long term, but you might not be principally engaged in your business for the long term. You're building something that can be sold
Mhm.
so that the legacy goes on, the business goes on, your income can actually go on as a, you know, CEO emeritus or consultant or management consultant to your, to that business
Right.
that you started. So I think the goal is not just to make immediate money. The goal at some point does have to become, you know, building something that will last and something that can continue to give you income, even if you are not principally engaged in that business each and every day.
I agree. That would be twofold. So one part is, when do you, the fourth part would have been D, is when do you get out your business? Because you don't get into
The
business to
exit strategy.
your exit strategy. You don't stay in it. You don't start a business to work in it for the rest of your life. At some point in time, for one, I'm a micromanager. So I'm not sure if that will work for me. I'm just being honest, but I need to know if I'm going to have a business. One, it comes from trusting your employees. So yes, I trust my employees, but I'm still a micromanager. I love to be engaged with everything I do because I like to see my stuff come to life. But the goal for me is to eventually sell all my businesses where I've worked hard enough. And this is when you become franchisable, if that's even a word. So that means that you created systems and operations that if someone were to come in and step into your business right now, that they'll be able to follow suit, follow your lead based off of things that you've made. And that's why it's also very important to have a business plan and have policy and procedures, that have organizational structure that someone can follow, because you can't hire employees if you don't even know what you do on a daily basis. So you wouldn't be able to create a job description. Think about it. If you don't have a business plan, you don't really know what you're doing on a daily basis, you wouldn't be able to create a job description for someone to even come in and work, nevertheless be able to sell your business to somebody. So definitely keep that in mind, because we have to get out our business. We don't want to work for the rest of our lives. Again, generational curse that I had to break. My grandparents worked all the way up until they died, like a month before each one of them died, literally. And so it doesn't have to be that way. You have to find some other way to break some of these curses, and some of it's strictly in the mindset.
Absolutely. And in Create Income with or Without a Job, which is an audiobook program that is available from our website, createincomewithoutajob.com, we share with people that, once you are creating income for yourself, and that takes all different forms and varieties, but one of the goals actually is to not have to work for the rest of your life. One of the goals is financial independence. It's not having to plan your entire existence around paying bills, around getting up and doing work, to perform services, to offer goods, to, run your manufacturing facility, to face one-on-one with employees, to, all that's involved in actually starting and running an enterprise. The goal is not to have to engage in that for the duration of one's life. The goal is financial independence, so that you can take years of your life and travel and paint and, do other things that your life's purpose has to do with. Our life's purpose is not work.
Right.
And the industrial age and how we have kind of convinced ourselves through, being involved in manufacturing and jobs, moving from entrepreneurship into jobs in the industrial age, has kind of, left us with a mindset that we have to work at something every day and every year and for the rest of our lives. But the goal is actually financial independence, not needing to work.
And the key to that is reversing our brainwashing. What you just said is that we're brainwashed to go to school, get degrees, work every day. At some point in time, you have to reverse your brainwashing to some type of independence. And it comes in the form of what you just said: financial independence, time independence, and just honestly freedom to do what you want when you want to do it. And so if you never transition your mind from one way to the other, it's going to be really hard for you to be an entrepreneur. I'm just being fully honest with you, because my friends ask me, Jessica, you do so much, you're so busy, you're doing something all the time. Yes, I'm alive, I'm above ground, and I'm able-bodied. So as hard as I was working for somebody else, I have to work equally as hard for myself. Otherwise, I feel like my soul will perish. My mind will perish if I'm not willing to put as much hard work in for myself as I did for somebody else.
And I'm Jamila Harris. I'm your Create Income Coach. You're watching our YouTube channel, Create Income Coach. We're talking today with entrepreneur extraordinaire, multipreneur extraordinaire, Jessica Lewis. She is the CEO of Real Solutions for Real People. Her website address is rs4rp.com. You may reach out to her by info at that address or accounts at rs4rp.com. And we do encourage you also to go to our website, createincomewithoutajob.com. Our audiobook program is a download. It's an automatic download to whatever device you purchase it and download it to. The audiobook program is the result of my actual experience having sudden job loss. And despite my education, despite all of my hard work, I ended up broken homeless within 18 months after losing my job. And it was a year's journey back to some sense of normalcy. And I had to shift my mindset from being a job seeker to being a person who creates income for myself. So that's what I share with people. And there's a process. But as Jessica and I are both sharing with you, that process begins very strongly with literally reprogramming our mindsets and giving ourselves a mindset. I had to reprogram myself and decide I am a self-employed person. I'm not a job seeker, and I can create income for myself, whether I have a job job or not.
That's right.
And so that takes a lot of reprogramming. So we are sharing information with you today, encouraging those of you, especially in today's current time. We live in a totally unique time in history. There's never been a historical time that, I mean, we have a recession, we have a COVID-19 virus, we have over 40 million people in just the United States who are unemployed and without sources of income. People are standing in lines overnight trying to access unemployment benefits that should have started 4 months ago. People are lining up for hours outside of food banks for a box of food, a bag of food to feed their families. We are in one of the most dire times that has ever been seen in human history. And so that's why this is so important, Jessica, that we are talking, having this dialogue, that you are sharing your model and the steps that you've taken, because hopefully what we both hope is that this will be a pathway that someone who's listening and viewing will be able to embrace and be able to step beyond where they are at this particular moment. Jessica, I just, you know, I've talked about what I had to do literally from being broke and homeless, and just address that a little bit from where people are, where they don't have time to plan. Most of the people who are unemployed today had no time to plan, no advance notice that their jobs were going to disappear. They didn't have time to put all of everything in place. You know, it's not a pretty package. And people have children, people need shelter, people need food. It's about the basics. So let's talk about that a little bit.
Let's just say that you have the bare minimum education. Let's just say you don't have a job. Let's just say you can't plan any of this stuff out. My other hustles during my hustle journey was selling stuff from out of my house. I had things, I was able to make stuff. I'm a big DIYer. I can recycle and create anything out of anything. I paint, I wrote poetry for people, believe it or not. So here's what I encourage everybody to do. You may not have time to plan. You may not be able to find a job. You may be struggling on where to start. Go from what you already know. So some of you may had jobs doing certain things already. So let's just say you were in the customer service industry. There are people hiring online where you can work from home, where you don't have to even leave your house, work from your cell phone even. There's a lot of resources out there. Let's just say that you need to get someplace, meaning start a job first so that you can get to your entrepreneur place. Sometimes you need a little bit of income to get you ahead just so that you can get to the next level. I have friends that they literally go to thrift stores and they resell the clothes out of the thrift stores if they have the money to do it. But guess what? You probably have stuff already in your house that you have not even used. And God knows how long. I'm a hoarder. I'm sure there's a lot of other hoarders out there with things that are just sitting in your house that you could be selling online. Take a picture of it, put it on Facebook Marketplace. You know, there's other little apps out there that you can take advantage of, like Let Go and Mercury and all these different things is out there. There's stuff sitting in your house right now that you could be making money off of where you didn't need money, education, or to apply for a job to make money from it. There's things sitting in your children's room right now that you could be selling online, like those old games that they're no longer playing, those old game systems that they haven't touched since the first time they played with them. You may even have crochet blankets from family members that created them for you when you had children. Your children are now 30 years old. So what do you need with the blankets? Maybe you can bless somebody else's family with it. And so think of it like this: whatever you already have is good enough for you to start a business. You don't need no special education. You don't need no any money. I'm just being honest with you. You don't need any money. There's things that you can do right now. So okay, let's talk about the food bank. You may need that food to cook for yourself. Let's be honest. Some people are struggling like that. But some people are going out there going from food bank to food bank to food bank, and they're not using it for themselves. They're actually selling it to other people. But here's something else to think about. How about you bless somebody else? Just give stuff away, and God is going to bless you back. What I do know is every time I gave something away, God always gave it back to me tenfold. When I let people borrow money, I don't expect it back. I say, here you go. I promise I will never want to see it again. So you don't have to worry about giving it back. And I'm just telling you from a perspective of a social entrepreneur, I chose businesses that I can help people solve problems with. But more importantly, when I had those same problems, someone helped me. And so, even if you don't have a dime in your pocket right now, you really could start your business. It's just a matter of if you can sit back on your couch and look around and see what in your house you could possibly even sell right now. Maybe you can have conversations. So, at some point in time, you have to get a little humble. You can't just have this ego like, I'm not going to ask for help from anybody, but ask your family members if there's things in their house that they're no longer using that you can help them sell online, and y'all can split the profits, because really you're doing all the work. They're just giving you the stuff. And so why not share? And so there's things that people can start by just so they can generate some income without having to get a job. There's going to be times where if you go on Facebook, perfect example, Facebook Marketplace has things where people are giving stuff away for free. Go get that stuff for free. If you have the gas money to do so, walk there, whatever, and refurbish it and resell it. There's so many ways that people literally can make money without money right now, that I just challenge everybody to think outside of their box a little bit. So if you don't have a special degree, or you hadn't worked somewhere a long time, you may not even have a lot of job experience, but everybody's good at something. Tap into what your talent is and let that be the thing that guides you into your entrepreneur space.
I absolutely love it. The message from Create Income with or Without a Job, our audiobook program, is identify your natural talents, gifts, and abilities. Start right where you are with what you have inside of you. So many times we are looking outside of ourselves for our source of income. Again, it's reprogramming our mindset and our thought process. There's a wonderful, which was originally a speech by Thomas Cromwell, the founder of Temple University, called Acres of Diamonds. And I often recommend that as recommended reading. The premise is that, we run all over the world, trying to fit in, trying to find, oh, what's my golden thing? What's my really great job? Where's my career? Where's this and that? Where's my money? Where's my prosperity? And it's right there in your own backyard. It was right there with you all along. And the other thing that we really love to encourage people to do is definitely, just like in one of my favorite biblical passages is of the widow who came to the prophet Elijah and said, listen, my husband, who was a man of God, has died, and I have 2 sons, and the creditors are coming to take my sons away for my husband's debts. And the prophet doesn't say to her, okay, God's going to drop money out of the sky on you. He doesn't say, okay, we're going to bless you with an offering today. He asks a very important question. The first thing he asks her is, what do you have in the house? And he asks, in fact, if you study the actual original Aramaic and Hebrew language, that question means, what do you have to sell in your house? And she answers like most of us answer whenever we feel that we don't have a job, we don't have a paycheck coming in, we don't know where our next dime is coming from. We will tell the person who we're talking to desperately, I don't have anything. I have nothing. And she answers him and says, I have nothing but 1/4 of a very small urn of oil. And that biblical scripture goes on to show and demonstrate that what you have that you think is nothing and not enough God will multiply it and more than supply you and your needs. So we're speaking with Jessica Lewis, CEO of Real Solutions for Real People. Her website address is rs4rp.com. You may email her at accounts@rs4rp.com. And I am Jamila Harris, your Create Income coach. We ask you to go to our website, createincomewithoutajob.com. Download our audiobook program, and it's on a quarantine price, only $12.99, and it will download to any device that you have. And the information is there. What do you do right now to create income for yourself, whether you have a job or not? And then we ask you, please subscribe to this channel. Share this video with others. There are over 40 million people who need this information right now, who need to hear the nuggets, the wisdom, the pearls of wisdom that Jessica Lewis has shared today. So we thank you for joining us. We look forward to you subscribing to this channel. Click that bell so you'll be notified every time we have another interview with Jessica Lewis. There will be future interviews with lots of more information. And to all of you, we thank you for tuning in. Stop looking for a job. Create income with or without a job.
Amen.